has been very suppressed and distorted through all kinds of things. And like she said, just what she said herself, that she won't go ahead, we'll do it, but I'll cry all the time. I think a lot of her stuff is from this whole scenario is going to come up now.
What scenario?
I mean, from what's happening with the kids and
I see.
what we're doing.
Good. That's real true.
I don't know how much information I'm getting from this article.
It doesn't matter, really. In the end. The clue is to refer back to what is the planetary ruler of this Saturn. What is the planetary ruler of this Saturn in this chart? And where is this down? Let's try to go with this.
Would it be like a healing? We would affect a healing on each other from wounds that were really old, like from when the matriarchy, changed over to the patriarchy, and that, together that we are trying to heal each other's the emotional trauma that we experience.
That's part of it. Part of the dialogue is simply validating. Serve to validate one another through discussion relative to each of you for countless centuries being projected on by fucking men, which has had effect of impacting your feminine imagery. So you can see what some of the discussions then. You can also see there's a theme in here, nobody's seen it yet, but...
Were they siblings?
What's your intuition title?
I was seeing the Venus in Gemini in the 11th.
That can also just connect to women who connect through group context because they have like-mindedness.
They could have been neighbors, maybe in a tribe.
Or in the same tribe.
Same tribe or same group of people, and they raised each other's children. Right. There was a wound or suppression or restriction that Cheryl stepped in and helped raise the child.
There you go. There's another thing to see that's actually would link to, not so much in this, there is a little bit of link to this time, but it's a scenario where there's a few lives where, relative to children being promised via parents, there have been a couple lives where Lois had a hard time letting go of Jennifer, because in many ways she was trying to be a vicarious extension or to live through. That's a link between fifth and second. Fifth and second. And the bottom line is that Cheryl had a way of being able to communicate that made it okay. So Lois could let go. And that was, of course, done to help Lois develop herself, to individuate versus living through or be a vicarious extension of. You see the connection?
This is the Uranus is just standing right on top. The Uranus is just standing right on top.
So you see that theme, yes? You also, the theme of being in the same tribe has already been reflected. This is a symbol of a tribe right in front of us. None of us are going to fit into this very well. Why are we all together? Do a group composite.
Even though there was like class and upper class.
Okay. Another theme is not going to be apparent to you, but it's here. There's a theme wherein they found themselves in mutual prostitution together. This took place in original Rome. And out of prostitution, children sometimes happen. Let's follow this theme.
You see that with the Mars, Scorpio, conjuncting the Sun?
Yes.
Saturn and Libra were Venus?
Yes. The Rome, the specific symbol for Rome is the Libra. That's also a series of lives where Jennifer and Ryan met. Remember all those Libra symbols?
Yeah.
So now we're starting to see a common time. So let's move with this particular theme. And remember, the way you should know about Rome is that there were three classes of prostitute. One in vernacular would be called the streetwalker. And the second stage, or in their culture, they were actually called the dancers. And that's because in ancient Rome, music was used as a form of eroticism. And most girls were taught early in life erotic dance. So, and these are the prostitutes that actually would work in a temple. The common goddess for prostitution in ancient Rome was Ceres. Ceres.
How is it spelled?
Ceres. S-E-R-E-S. And in the last stage, the word for it is Hakata. There's actually an asteroid called Hakata. I'd be interested in finding these details. And Hakata would be H-E-K-A-T-E. It's close enough. And Hakata would be analogous in our terms to a madam. Hakatas in Roman culture were very powerful women. They had great wealth, they were educated, they had direct influence on the political structure, and so on. They were very dominant, and they were the ones training the dancer types. There was actual formal training of how to be a prostitute. It was a very erotic thing. They learned very specific ways. So those are the three levels. You can see it mirrored in our culture. It's just not defined that way. You still have the streetwalker. You still have the one working at home. You still have the madam. You have the high-class prostitute, the streetwalker. So let's go with these teams.
I can validate on them. I've had those Netflix
And do you have the imagery around it that shows you that it's Rome?
What?
Do you have the imagery that shows you it's Rome?
Yeah, with flowing, glove type. And dancing.
You remember too?
No, I mean, I had a specific vision, but it was like during, like a Mongolian. Like, I saw this picture of me and several women dancing for a man reclining on a rug. We were dancing very erotically for his pleasure. And I had that.
And you know for a fact it was Mongolia.
Pardon? I don't know if it was Mongolia. I'm just saying what I was looking at.
What clothes did he have on?
Loose pants, some sort of a head thing on his head, but laying on a beautiful rug, like in a tent type thing.
And there was pants. You actually saw pants?
I was really like focusing in on the dancing. I mean, it was just, I can't remember the clothes so well, as much as the face with this thing on his head.
What did the thing on his head look like? What was his skin color?
Brown.
That's all.
Turkey?
Maybe, yeah, it was a really elaborate head thing, you know. It wasn't like cloth.
Mm.
Something like I've never seen.
Like a sultan?
Mm-hmm, yeah. Something like that, but with like gold, something flashy.
You're pretty close to the area. The area that memory connects to is what's now called Afghanistan. It was well after the patriarchy had taken over. So let's go with this theme here of prostitution. Finding themselves in the same circumstance, the linkage with, at times, of course, children produced. There was no real means for abortion as you know it. And most of the times the kid was birthed. So let's go with this theme. And then link it possibly to the story of Jennifer and Brian. So there was a life actually, you know, where that time where Ryan was turned into a gladiator against his will.
I've got some aspects of that. For Rose is 17 cancer,
17 cancer.
and for Cheryl is 3 cancer.
Oh, there you have it. This is one of these things, because that's going to be relatively in opposition to this Chiron point, opposition to moon point. You can see how it's going to connect back up through here. So, please, and squaring the Libra point. So essentially we have a Kata, opposition Capricorn shit, both squaring Libra. There's your signature. Who can run with it?
So the woman that got pregnant was, you know, her very survival, her way of making her living is now threatened. But yet, since they were connected with each other, I would say that I probably really supported her and helped her get through that, you know, through the time of getting pregnant and, you know.
Run with this historical fact. An ancient Roman, a prostitute got pregnant. Rarely was she allowed to keep the child.
Oh. I've seen Lois.
Once in a while they were allowed.
What did they do with the children?
And it had to require incredible intervention. What's wrong with these things?
The Uranus conjunct with Lois' sun in Cancer in the 6th. There was a disconnection from
It's a really interesting story if you can see it now.
She was allowed to keep it to Cheryl's intervention.
This did occur, but let's find the story within the story.
Is it because I'm having a hard time?
Why don't you sell your memories, woman? They're all standing
I'm really hard that I have like connections with people in power because of my status in this scenario, and that I had such an emotional connection with this woman that I wanted to help her be able to keep her child.
Yes, but then the story within the story is why would Lois want to keep the child?
Oh.
I mean, if you look at it from Lois's view, you can see that there's been many lives of heartbreak. with love things. The list is 16.
So it was a child of someone that...
She loved the man, but it was impossible for her to be with him based on her position.
Right. And so she really wanted to keep the boy. Now life was a boy. And based on the nature of things, that wasn't normally allowed. And so this is where Cheryl comes in. She had direct access to Caesar. One of the Caesars. Direct access. It wasn't that gruesome.
It was her son and ten. It was the first son being in her 10th house.
That's one of them, but also the main link, Jürgen, is his moon, Capricorn, 5th house, ruler. So now the question becomes, who could see Cheryl's actual position in that life, even though she had direct access? Because normally the Caesars were married to something, but believe me, in ancient Rome, nothing was monogamous, especially with the Caesars. So let's try to develop a theme here. Follow the theme of Hakata. A common scenario in ancient Rome is they always, of course, get drunk and have these massive orgies and parties and the rest of it. Which women are brought to these things to service, basically, the men. And so, typical source of bringing the women in would be accessing the local Hakatas. Now, follow this theme.
She was in charge of doing all that stuff for Caesar. Especially if you wanted anything special or specialty.
Specialties?
I'm just telling my intuition.
Specialties.
She knew exactly what he wanted, and she knew how to set it up perfectly.
Cheryl was in charge of doing the proper arrangements. So that.
But then the question becomes, how did the connection happen between her as a Hakata and having direct access, when I was just talking that kind of access? So what would have been a stimulant, so to speak, to the Caesar to now want to get involved intimately with Cheryl? The answer is just simply pure physical beauty. And because, based on her own situation, she knew all the erotic arts, and including this incredible way of doing belly dances in that life. It just drove this guy nuts. But you did that with intent, because you knew what the situations were for your own prostitutes. And you did that with an intent to help when you could. That was the underlying intent. You actually hated the guy's guts. Thought he was a gross pig. Not to mention how he smelled. I know your reaction to smells.
Oh, I do.
That's right. That's right from that time. See these funny little details.
Yeah, too, and she had acquired at the castle at the second house. She had to get details from what she was doing.
astrology gets to be fun, yeah?
Well, and the Uranus is in 6 and right at the Peter's the 7th house, so she had her getty cat from the smell of the person.
Did she convince the Caesar?
Hmm?
Did she convince?
She succeeded.
What did Lewis do then? Did you get a little home? Did you just quit being a prostitute?
No, the child would be raised right in the temple itself.
Oh, okay.
Because the prostitutes had their own little residences. Not much, but they were there. And of course, with all the other women around, you had also a group context of raising a child. Look how you see the scene. Putting the Hakatas back in 11. Now we have the extended family called fellow prostituta.
That is the Vesta temple, the Vesta temple in Rome.
Vesta?
Yes.
Vesta is more linked with original Greece.
Okay.
The two primary goddesses in ancient Rome were Ceres and Venus.
Vesta, you mean?
And Venus.
Okay.
Sarah.
And I have Vesta in like my south node in the 8th.
There you go.
Yes, where do you see the child in the temple in the chart of Louis? Where do you see the child in the temple?
Being raised in the temple?
Yeah.
By the sheer fact that the Hakatas come back out to the 11th.
It also shows.
In Cancer.
Well, also tells.
So you have the extended family, Cancer, in the group context, prostitution.
Also, Lois's 5th house cuts to Sagittarius, ruler Jupiter falling in the 4th house.
Yeah, good.
And if Cheryl is the 10th, so to say, it's going to be her home, her house that it lives in.
Yeah. So anyway, you guys are starting to see when you really...
I got a question. I always look into this Mars Scorpio conjunction the Sun. Did maybe one of the two also help in other situations to when the child had to be born, had to be get rid of,
True.
to kill the child? Like by poison, or to sell it, or get somehow, the best option that could be found?
That's true. But there's also a scenario of one saving the other's life in childbirth with respect to bleeding. There's also a scenario, another story in here where one found the other being subjected to a gang rape. Subjected to a gang rape. And just did whatever she could do to stop it.
And have like a baby?
That came out of it.
Was that right?
Yeah.
Which one of us was gang rape? Which one was gang rape? Oh.
So Ronnie was her son at that point. And Ryan was her son at that point?
Yes.
See, this whole thing does remind me of a bestseller book in the States called The Man Who Fell in Love with the Moon. It's a story about a white pimp prostitute in the Wild West and a half-native or Native American prostitute that lived there with good friends. And this Native American prostitute gave birth to a child, which was a son, and who grew up in this kind of poorhouse, totally loving her mother and like the pimp kind of mother. And then when he was 6 years old, he got raped by a man that, as a jealousy act because the Native American prostitute didn't want to sleep with him anymore. They threw him out, and he raped the son. And then he became a prostitute too.
Wow.
It's all written in Native American language. From a point of view how the Native American feels, on the prostitute. And all the racism and all that. This is just like, very scary. But, I get like this feeling, that...
That's right, you're seeing that theme.
It's very much seems like, right.
Exactly. Any other observations you want to check out? I mean, you've already got the relevant themes.
I didn't find the gang rape yet in the chart.
Gang rape in astrology is linked with Aquarius, 11th house.
Yes.
Where does Hakata as an asteroid stand in each of their charts?
Look at that. Okay.
What is it squaring? 2nd house.
Now, was my moon conjunct Chiron and Sag is on the fifth house test, I'm getting a feeling like I really tried to work with her, like, to help her to prevent pregnancy by the use of natural herbs to prevent, you know, the pregnancy.
Actually, what men did long ago, they had natural condoms. And they're made out of sheepskin. They've been used a long time. But they weren't perfect things then. And they commonly broke and sperm coming through the little miniature holes. And so they were imperfect. But they tried. And of course the herbs and...
What I also tend to see is like in more like tribal and matriarchal times, that these two were like really good friends. That it came that one mother was initiating the child of the other one into sexual, you know, the right use of sexual energy.
That would be indicated for sure. Especially when you put the south node of Neptune in this thing. Put it in there.
That's in Aquarius, right?
So, any other observations?
Well,
Feeling you could put up synastry charts pretty much at random, people from this room.
Oh, yeah.
And you get quite a recurring theme.
That's right.
People coming in and out of each other's lives.
That's why it'd be interesting to do a group composite. Those things are fascinating to me.
You gave us, I think, the formula for doing the group times, the group chart, how to do that on the computer.
Yeah, you do it through SolarFire because it can do up to 15. You just punch in all the data. Then you'll see a menu that says group composite. So, kind of run into our end here, and I would just say, you know, it was one of my own personally, one of my more favorite schools, and had a great time together, and it's all been like a family, yeah? And we'd really like to thank David again for allowing us all to enjoy his home.
Happy birthday, David.
The night.
I certainly want to thank Willie and Mark for what they've done with you all, and thanks, Willie. So.
The readings we did with your charts up there.
Did you guys find it beneficial for you? Hey, how Pluto speaks.
0 degrees, 12 minutes.
And then
What is, in this composite chart, what is one of the deep soul links / agreements on the two individual souls to be in a form of relationship?
For protection?
Hmm?
For
To protect each other from what?
social alienation or from the outside the patriarchy.
Where you see is restated.
Restated?
Mm-hmm.
Pluto in Leo in 10,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Sun in Virgo in the 10.
Mm-hmm.
There's Pisces there,
Yeah, where else could you see it?
Jupiter in 6.
Why?
The body.
What house does Jupiter rule? What? No. Second house. There you see it. Where else do you see it? Chiron, Capricorn, second house. Where else do you see it?
Saturn, Mars.
Saturn, Mars. No? In Libra again. In the 11th house. Mars is right on the 12th house cusp. Huh? It's like friendship healing.
And like supporting each other through this crisis of the trauma that we've done.
Yes. Yes. Caused by what?
By the patriarchal.
Patriarchal? Okay.
Willie, do you see the theme, repeated theme of enforced enslavement?
Yeah.
And with Virgo in the 10th, societal or enforced, Virgo's conjunction with enslavement. And then also what's interesting, I always do the same Jeffrey, one of the first things I do with Jeffrey taught was go to the sign on the cusp of the 11th. That's where you find trauma. And that trauma is Virgo, so you find the Mercury in Virgo ruling that south node. So there was a lot of trauma around
Virgo.
society trying to force them into a subservient role.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, back when there was enslavement was widespread, it would have been enslavement. But more recently in life, it would have been they find themselves in a role where they cannot be all that they want to be. With that Mercury in the 11th house, they want to break free from the role that society places upon them. So just like she said, the patriarchal thing, they find themselves women unable to really do all that they want to do. And then you find in that 6th house, you got Jupiter in Aries. Is that Aries?
Yeah.
Jupiter's in Aries. So again, repeat the theory is that
How do you come to Jupiter?
because there's a tremendous emphasis on 6th house in here.
Right.
The
Plus,
Virgo, the South Node in Virgo, the ruler of the South Node in the sign Virgo, and Virgo again repeating on the 11th. So I just went to the 6th and found a Jupiter in Aries. And here's two people that really want to break free and have supported each other's uniqueness. South Node of the ruler of the South Node in the 11th.
Yeah. Plus Mercury makes almost or makes a 5-degree inconjunct to Jupiter. Can you see that? Yeah. It's applying. So it's on its way to come. And Jupiter's the ruler of the 2nd house. So the patriarchal bullshit made them very often, in the necessity or the circumstances of suffering / being suppressed, being enforced, there certain kind of things, to, be together as friends, to make the suffering kind of easier, yeah? And help and support each other. Yeah?
What degree is that on the 2nd house cusp?
11 Sag.
Since we're looking at motherhood, would we look at the moon in the 4th house and see the moon being in the 0 degrees of Aries to re-empower
5th house.
5th house, yes.
4th.
To re-empower a new beginning for a new kind of woman, mother, that would be united with the philosophical and actually be a teaching role model kind of mom.
Well, just look into one most important aspect, this moon, in 0 degrees Aries. That's a brand new cycle. Yeah? In the 5th house. That's everything about re-establishing female strength, vitality. Yeah? Keep in mind the fifth house is Pisces. Yeah? The aspect. What is the most important aspect that this moon makes or does? Just look for anything on 0 degree. To the south node. What kind of an aspect is that? Conjunct. Inconjunct. Why do we have inconjunct? Well, yeah, but healing is such a nice word. What happens if there is a crisis?
What happens?
Yeah.
You're faced with what you have to look at.
Which crises happen in order to then go into
A new cycle.
analysis first. Out of analysis comes self-knowledge. Out of self-knowledge comes the longing for a technique / a behavior pattern that I can do in order to improve. Yeah? Yeah? What house does this moon stand in? Children. House of children. So the children. Yeah?
And doesn't it also, it's like your creative self-actualization as well.
Yeah. But as a couple.
Yeah.
As two moms that we were talking about, because the kids start to meet.
Yeah.
Huh?
And that's how we met, through our children.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what kind of drew us.
Yeah.
This group drew us together, but we, once they started, then we started too.
Of course, and you have a south node in the 10th house, with its ruler in the 11th house, astrology. And close to the south node, there's the sun, children. Again. Yeah? So it's as if the children now help the moms, yeah, to re-empower their female aspect, what hasn't been like in previous lives. Yeah, we have a zero Aries moon, but in conjunct in the south node. There's a need to heal the emotional body, the female aspect between the two, the friends. Yeah? And one vehicle that makes it happen is indeed the kids again. Yeah? And the like mind of the same interest to improve in a certain philosophy / technique to be able to objectify, i.e. astrology. Yeah?
What about also the North Node being in Pisces, 0 degrees in the 4th house? It's also implying healing.
Of course.
Motherhood.
There you see it again. There you see it again. Yeah? And this North Node has not been activated yet. Where's the Pluto polarity point?
In the 4th house.
Yep. And where's the ruler of the North Node? Sounds like healing, huh? What sign do you find in the 4th house cusp? Where's the ruler of that? What sign? Got it? Yeah? Without doing like this big kind of reading, it's the same thing we've been talking about. Yeah? In high degree of traumatized inner nature because, of the fracture of the emotional body relative to the very inner nature of the emotional body of these women / individuals. Caused by Pluto in the 10th house, an enforced kind of patriarchal overlayer that made them be subjected, south node, in the 10th house, Virgo, yeah, to work / to sacrifice / to be in service. Yeah? In conjunct to the moon. Yeah? With a physical body. Or to entertain. Yeah, entertainment, 5th house. Fun. Yeah? Can you see that?
Would that be restated again with the opposition of the moon, Saturn conjunct Mars, Chiron?
Sure.
With the moon in Aries in that 5th house, wouldn't that give us it's like an emotional fierceness? I mean, it's like with our children, we were like really highly protective of our children.
Yeah.
And like with the Mars energy in it, it would be like fierce protection.
Yeah, but this is very often a projection of the own emotional pain. Yeah? That now becomes like more or less compensated / projected. Yeah? As an overprotective mother of the child. Yeah? To make sure that this would not happen to my child. But by that, what Jeff said before, that sometimes it happened that Lois used her child as a, how do you say that, substitute, vicarious extension of the own neediness / reality. Yeah? But both have this tendency to do that. Yeah? Huh? We saw that in the synastry. Yeah?
Or when you say vicarious neediness, is that coming from her projecting out her neediness onto the... I'm getting kind of confused on what the ultimate motivation is.
The ultimate motivation is the causative factor in the first place is the fracture / the highly violation of the emotional body to enforced patriarchal kind of on them. No? But not have a permission / a chance to heal the emotional body. No? No?
Because I know I have the same signature in myself as my own son.
Yeah?
I have a real protectiveness with him and a fear of anything happening to him or him like being taken away from me.
Well, we need to discriminate if this is a realistic fear, yeah, or a fear that is rooted in something else.
Yeah.
And it can be rooted in a previous life where you indeed have been, where your son has been taken away from you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then this fear is more or less legitimate because it's a, unresolved traumatic memory.
Right.
Or the other option is...
They get overlaid. It's like
yeah.
past, and now it's fuzzy and blurry.
And the other option is that one projects his own wounded inner child, the physical child. Mm-hmm. Yeah? That's the other option.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So here we see, of course, the scenarios, just to, repeat what happened in synastry. Can you see this influence of these two girls, or this contact of the two girls being in contact with the upper class? Yeah? Can you see that?
Very obvious. Very obvious.
Very obvious. And that gave him a certain sense of security. Yeah?
Where do you see upper class?
Where would you see upper class? Pluto, Leo, 10th house, South Node in Virgo. They weren't the rulers. They were the servant of the rulers. Can you see that? Yeah? Having no social rights, but just important connections that gave him a certain sense of security / emotional security.
And also the Venus and Leo conjunction.
Yeah. Conjuncting the South Node. And Pluto. What fate? Oh, the midheaven. Okay, yeah. What kind of phase do we see between Pluto and Venus? What do these planets rule? Which houses do they rule in this chart? No, not midheaven. Pluto's the ruler of Scorpio. Scorpio is found where?
7.
From this chart, are you talking about the natural rulers?
No, natural rulers, we know them. In this chart. 1st and 7th. Yeah, but, where does it ring the bell? Does the bell ring somewhere? Bell, do you ring?
No?
The one planet is the ruler of the ascendant of the couple.
No, the ascendant of Scorpio.
Yes, and is Pluto not the ruler of Scorpio? And having like an balsamic conjunction via aspect with Venus, the ruler of the 7th house, in Leo. So, in the 10th house, 9th, 10th house. So what is the main story about? What is the eye of the cyclone? Leo. Children. Balsamic face. Something, completion, culmination of something that has come before. Yeah? Relative to a lot of contact with other people that they had as a couple. Yeah? What kind of Contacts? Venus, Pluto? Venus being the ruler of the 7th house? For sale, appetizing love for sale. Yeah. Yeah, forced prostitution. Prostitution. Can you see the problems here relative to children, relative to patriarchal? Yeah? Relative not only because, I mean, there haven't been like prostitutes like in every lifetime. Yeah? Let's forget about the prostitution just for a second. And just think about a good housewife. The two of them. What kind of husbands were they married to? Church? Oh, you learned something. Yes. Can you see that? Yeah? That very often their relationship was also defined via the crises in the family structure of them being married to the very same kind of inner pattern husband. Can you see that? And in order to, you know, be a good housewife, to stay in that relationship and to help each other, yeah? Servants, friends, understand and objectify how to deal with that reality. Yeah? In order, you get that?
We were talking about it today. There last night.
Yeah.
Same dynamic.
Thanks for pointing it out. Do you see that? Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Like, you know, neighbors, like in the same neighborhood, having the same kind of asshole living together with, pretending this persona of, you know, happy marriage life. But we see what really happens in this, you know, just look into Saturn, Mars. A Pluto in the 10th house. Balsamic Venus to Pluto. Venus being the ruler of the 7th house. What could that mean? Or just pick anything else, but just try to stay on the track.
It means that they, well, somehow got really mad at that instinctively because it's a new phase, Mars to Saturn.
Uh-huh.
They probably, but since it's the 11th house, which means detachment,
Yeah.
and because of Libra, which wants harmony, they got detached from that anger because it was, well, they were deadly afraid of expressing this anger, and because of that, squaring Uranus, which is the ruler of the 4th house, it is in Cancer too. Because of that, they had to get detached from the emotions. That means they had to survive. They had to try not to feel what's going on with them inside.
They had not to be allowed, what was the last sentence? To see what is going on within them?
Well, they
No, I didn't hear.
allow themselves
Yes?
to connect to their feelings.
Yes.
Because that would,
Well, probably to
if
the...
they did that,
They would have...
Mars would get activated, and by that,
That's very kind. How would this Mars become activated as the ruler of the 6th house, conjuncting Saturn? Criticism?
Not feeling good enough.
You told...
fighting authorities.
Fighting authorities? Mm-hmm.
That means fighting the husband.
Fighting the husband.
Opposing the husband.
Yes.
That means questioning the basis of their material life.
The basis, in the first place,
Yeah.
of their actual reality within that relationship.
Right.
Yeah? Why, you know, what kind of a relationship is this? Vital? Oh, okay. Yeah?
When you say what would make them weird, that they showed independence, that they were able to support themselves without them, would that have made him interested?
If they would show support to live without them? No, what?
You were saying what kinds of things would trigger anger in their husband? their independence would trigger anger.
Absolutely.
What is the basis of their, or what has been the basis of their relationships? Yeah? Prostitution is one.
In the scenario,
Right now, we take this prostitute thing away, and we look into an, another kind of reality that was also there, because we have Pluto in the 10th house.
Material safety within the existing society.
What?
To be
Oh, to be emotionally safe means to be in alignment with the consensus of how a relationship needs to be designed?
materiell versorgt
Oh, to have... Sure. To have... Oh, sorry. To be monetarily... Yeah? Safe/secure relative to the definition of any given society. So what kind of a relationship did they have, these two women, to their husbands? Another word? The ruler, what? Unequal, sure. The ruler of the 7th house, being in the 9th house, balsamic to Pluto in the 10th house. We see 1, 2, 3 planets in Libra.
there was a lifetime prostitute of the husband.
Codependent.
Lifetime prostitute of the husband is a very good
Codependent.
codependent. Can you see that? Yeah?
you can also, the ruler of the second is that same Jupiter in the 6th says the same thing, doesn't it?
It's not necessarily codependency.
But it's
It says the humiliation, yeah, even with physical violence, relative when one of the two girls wanted to lead their own life, totally independent, relative to their inner belief/need structure. You see it repeated with a Venus in the 9th house. If that happened, if they just made the first attempt, or tried to express that I'm gonna leave you, asshole, how did then asshole react? Mars conjuncting Saturn. Huh? Of course, violent. Physically violent, verbally violent, emotionally violent. We see the square to Uranus in the 9th house, ruler of the 4th house. Humiliating in extreme forms to make the woman feel, relative to her needs, feel guilty, yeah? Inferior, to have back to normal. Can you see that? Yeah? And then there were sitting afterwards making these little talks, this brainstorming, Mercury rule of the South Node, what they could do, yeah? What they should do, all these little analysis, yeah? But when they acted upon that, the consequences were very, very harsh relative to the status quo of any given society. Yeah? Make sense?
Yeah, see, the Uranus square to the Saturn, it's like the Uranus and Cancer in the 9th, it just feels really beautiful to me, like it's a natural, it's a real nurturing mother thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's squaring the Saturn, so it's like they were fearing the patriarchal judgment and maybe even fearing for their life if they wanted to branch out and be this free person.
Yeah. And what did they feel, or what was one way of these assholes to manipulate these girls?
Dinero.
What is dinero?
Money.
Oh.
Their physical survival.
On the one hand, the physical survival, no doubt. On the other hand, the children. But what was the most subtle way of manipulation these guys did? Or they were susceptible to? No. No. Well, or, yes, you're on the right track.
Emotional manipulation.
I need you to be with me.
Yeah, creating an illusion.
Maybe you find the answer if you see Saturn being linked to Mars by 1 degree, and Mars being linked to Neptune.
Oh,
We're like holding hands.
church. They were
The religious, creating a threat of religious punishment. Yeah? Hell, God. Yeah?
What about also the women too?
Hold on, let it sink in the system first, because it just clicked emotionally. Yeah? That they were made subconsciously, felt guilty if they would do and access their own lifestyle. Then that would be sinful. Yeah? Can you see that? Yeah? So they thought like, oh my God, I'm doing something wrong towards this poor guy, if I would leave him. Yeah? So very often they also helped each other relative, to the favorite sign Virgo, yeah? To the belief of suffering and atonement in order to be loved, yeah? Yeah? To stay in the situations of emotional abuse, yeah? Of codependency, of physical, sexual kind of, push-pull games, ambivalency games. Yeah? Can you see that?
Yeah, and also the threat that they lose their homes, North Node in Pisces and Fourth.
Which hasn't been activated.
Which hasn't been activated.
But you see it with the South Node in conjunct to the Moon.
All right.
And you see it with the Saturn square to Uranus in Cancer, the ruler of the 4th house.
Yeah, by sending them to the monastery.
By sending them to the monastery or creating lies about them that they would do witchcraft or whatever thing to, have a social legal punishment be triggered out.
Yeah.
Yeah?
So they put that over the top of them. I mean, always like saying, if you do this, this is the result.
Sure.
It's like that Saturn sitting
Sure.
on top of them.
Yeah.
How about the other side of that coin, though, where they would create an icon? It would be the Virgin Mary or something like that, where they would, it would be opposite of the punishment, but the moving toward the self-sacrificing woman as the ideal.
But not with the image of Virgin Mary.
Okay, well...
They were very much involved in here, Virgo,
Right.
in the cultural accepted belief, yeah, that they need to suffer because of the gender orientation, Pluto 10, South Node 10, because of being female. Yeah? So a spiritual overlay from their flip side, what you said, was as more as we, Eve, yeah, girls, suffer, be subjected, humiliated, as more God will love us. Yeah? The Virgin Mary aspect, / Mother Mary / Mother God, kicks into this life. Where can you see that? In the 4th house. Hello, Divine Mother? Yeah?
But see, it's a distortion. I'm just speaking from my own Catholic training. It's a distortion of the Virgin Mary
Yeah?
that is presented to you. It's not the true inner Divine Mother.
No.
But it's a distortion of that that's presented that you're supposed to emulate. It isn't really, it isn't presented as Eve, but maybe it is Eve, but it's not presented that way. It's presented like...
It's presented in a way as no woman is.
Exactly. And it's like...
Sterile. It's presented as sterile. Yeah? Just look into the normal men here in the street, Laguna Beach or California or the States. Yeah? They want to have a pure housewife at home. Yeah? But start dripping when they watch commercial TV of buying whips. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm thinking of what the women take on from that icon of the Virgin Mary, or at least what was presented to me, what I thought was an ideal.
Yeah. Of course, we see the impact of religious idealism, but it's man-made. It's man-made. And in order of the enforcement, they needed to totally cut off the very inner female nature. By that, a lack, void, was created that was then filled up. Yeah? Via any kind of work / service, from the range of being a prostitute. Yeah? We're talking about extreme incarnations. Extreme, Libra. Yeah? Being a prostitute on the one hand, yeah? To be independent, rule of the South Node, being in the 11th house, yeah? But also being an outcast. Or to choose, to stay a good working housewife and to totally cut off what's inside.
Since
Yeah?
the compromise, they had to cut off being comfortable with each other, and Uranus and Cancer to separate.
Very often,
Not meet anymore because that was a threat to her husband.
very often, yeah, that for sure did happen. Or not that they decided not to meet anymore, but they were, wanted.
They were forced not to meet anymore.
Yes, exactly. Forced. Yeah?
I think that's a very unconscious demand of the family, is that women, you be home and take care of your family, you don't have any time together. That is kind of a thing that you don't, when you're in the midst of raising, and when like 5 or 6 kids. I did not have time for my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And if I spent time with my girlfriend, I was guilty.
Yeah.
Because I had to go back home and be there and put the family first and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is like,
It turns you on, huh?
well, I can feel the energy.
Yeah.
That whole thing of giving up everything because of, and I think the man is just as much as tricked by that.
Both.
Yeah.
Both. But see, we see the violation of natural law.
Yeah.
Yeah? Which goes back that, you have to be home with the kids, and they're a tribal family. Let's zoom further back into, when there was no patriarchal issues in their composites. We can also go there. There we see the tribal issue. Raising the kids together. Yeah?
But Uranus is with Cancer in the 9th. I mean, is that like original time when they were together? The matriarchal?
Easily.
You see it in the whole chart. You see it in the whole chart.
See, also, you can see that Uranus and Cancer in the 9th, natural forms of living where you're independent, you're part of an equal part of a group. In Cancer, squaring the whole man-made religion shit over there in Libra.
Mm-hmm. No, because in those days, there was no man-made religion shit. There wasn't. It didn't exist.
That's the conflict.
No, there was no conflict in those times. There was the stress of acting upon to the inner, intuitive, emotional light balls to then bring him into reality as a service to the whole. Huh? To channel it down. There was no man-made law.
I just think I'm saying the man-made law that is shown there by Saturn, Mars, Neptune is in conflict with the natural ways of living.
Now, but we're zooming back into time when there was no man-made law. How was Saturn then lived? There was no man-made law.
Being responsible and playful.
Yeah, in a tribal way, where everyone was embracing his emotional truth as being and co-equal, in the whole society. Exactly. And that was the responsibility. By that, everything was in harmony. Everyone was self-responsible relative to his own actions/needs in the interrelatedness to all other people. To express it, but the way how those people expressed needs was not by talking.
How would it depend?
Huh?
Saturn ruling the 3rd. I just wondered how would they have expressed their needs by talking? Just intuitively?
Talking is the most primitive way of communication.
Well, being in, with their hand,
Just doing it. Yeah? And isn't that the house of higher mind? Yeah? Telepathic. Just knowing. Intuitive knowing. Intuitive communication. Just knowing it. Just being a part of everything.
And I see in that scenario, with Uranus, Cancer, Venus, Leo, 9th house, I see that maybe they were, they had this high degree of intuition, and they were almost like, they were like, the tribe would go to them for like nurturing on a spiritual level.
Yes. What is leadership? That's real leadership. Not putting an idiot into tie and suit, make him lawyer, and all of a sudden he's something special. Yeah? We see here natural leadership. Yeah? By a deep inner reflection of the needs of the others relative to the security issues of the whole tribe. Where the two of them were just gorgeous. Yeah? Deciding when the right time is from an intuitive point of view. Of initiating the children sexually. Yeah? Planning rituals, all these kind of shit. Yeah?
We are able to speak with authority they could communicate and teach and speak with authority to the group.
Yeah. But the underlying vibration relative to this word authority, which is distorted in patriarchal terms, i.e. Capricorn. No. No. That doesn't exist in natural law. No. The more like, as more as you have the capacity of being a leader, as more humility you carry within.
I see kind of like the wise old woman archetype, though.
Yeah.
Saturn and
Mm-hmm.
they came to them out of respect because they had wisdom.
There's a difference between respect and looking up onto someone. Who wants to be looked upon? Not a nice feeling. Yeah? Good. So we, just like to look at it from a matriarchal point of view. Being a natural tribe. Raising the kids. Yeah? Yeah? So we got that straight with the husband assholes. Yeah? We got the prostitution restated. We see the children issue. Yeah? That very often the children, because we see Leo, became a vicarious reason or meaning in life for them to live. Can you see that? Venus in the 9th house as the ruler of the 7th, balsamic conjunction to Pluto. Yeah? Restated by the sun in the 10th house. Yeah? I have to be the perfect mother. Yeah? Yeah?
What does the Pluto just about conjunct the South Node? You know how you went over that yesterday?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All of that. What was
Either, well, you know the word mastership. I don't have a better word, but, that they're really good in something. They lift out thoroughly a desire. The other option is that they have totally resistance, or we have the combination. What would you guess this couple has? Okay. Where do you think is the kind of, mastership thing? Where do you think there's the resistance?
Mastership is in the healing and the matriarchal and the support of women, the resistance and asshole men. Still being drawn to asshole men.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
being disturbed men.
Yeah. Even like in the patriarchal overlayers, they took care of each other. Like, they felt responsible as tribal parts. Yeah. So they had the matriarchal thing. So they learned, even as a couple / friends, they learned how to deal with this system. Yeah. Yeah. But the resistance, of course, was the emotional healing / after seeing the reality of my lived relationship, to then, I can't walk on one foot. I need both. One is recognizing things, the other one is acting upon it. Yeah? Not anymore.
and would that
Her love life with the guys in this life was not a happy story. Not at all. Huh? Ausloch? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the Pluto, could some of the resistance be about having some kind of residual fear of empowering yourself because you felt so disempowered previously? You know what I mean?
A fear of allowing yourself to re-empower yourself because you've been so...
The memory of being so disempowered.
Yeah. But the memories of being disempowered goes along with cellular memories of a ever-punishing God looking upon you and you not what society / priests tell you, what you shall do relative to your gender. Then you will end up in hell. Yeah?
I just find it so interesting because, in this life, I was raised with no religion. I mean, my mother was adamant about it, because, her and my father were like the one-night bar fuck, put it bluntly. And he then wrote her and said, oh, please raise her in the church. And that was the last thing she was going to do.
Sure.
I mean, and so it's like, I didn't have any of that. And then I have all those lives where I was like the prostitute, the temple woman.
Yeah, but see...
I kind of pulled in that vibration of not having that religious overlay this time.
Mm-hmm.
I was so sick of it.
But watch out. Our society, as it operates right now out there, is based on religion. Even if we don't go to church. Yeah? The whole society hierarchy is based on this belief of superior, inferior. mind dominance, emotional suffering slash denial. Yeah? So very often think of religion, okay, church and Bible and all that. No, it's right out there. Just go into the next bar and burst out in tears, and then observe how many people will give you a look of judgment.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah? Can you imagine? Yeah? Do you see? That's what this society is about. It's based on religion. That comes because Capricorn is the sign coming after Sagittarius. And you have an emphasis in Capricorn. You have a Capricorn rising, a Capricorn moon in the 12th house. And we have the Saturn, all these little happy things. Make sense?
Ulrich, you were speaking just, this is so much about this chart, but you were talking about the patriarchal oath and everything. It just triggered up when you were talking about the Eve thing and how men expect to have a wife at home who's the virgin, who's
Clean. Sure. Yeah.
And then he's out fucking around looking for this other kind of a woman, so it creates this split with a man wanting to have these multiple women in his life. And it just seems like, and with the church having like the three different types of women, the virgin, the whore, and the Madonna, whatever it is. Anyway, it just seems like it splits women's power apart. And so we can't really be the matriarchal thing with this kind of a overlay on top.
But the big joke behind that is that it also splits the real strength of men apart.
Yeah.
Do you look in the eyes on a Saturday evening when these dickheads with their little trucks drive by PCH? Yeah? Look in their eyes when they, scream out like after, girl being blonde, wearing mini shirt, something like that. Look in their eyes.
Yeah.
Huh? As split as everything else.
They're destroying themselves. It's not that they're destroying others.
That's the real causative reason, from my point of view, for patriarchal / dysfunctional societies is an influence of evil. Period.
That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line.
That we're inherently evil. Is that
That we are inherently evil? No.
And we are made to believe that we are inherently evil.
That's like the original sin thing.
What is the original sin? Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Then it's not true. If something does not make sense, it's just not true. Sure, because that goes back to 70% being in the consensus state, that they need to conform in order to feel safe with the existing norms and conditions, traditions, and thinking patterns and judgments by that of the existing society. And the existing society has been built up the last 2,000 years in the Western world, based on Bible. And most of the time, no one was allowed to read the Bible. And the Bible we were reading is translations and misinterpretations of a language that can't be read in a linear way, because Hebrew doesn't have vowels. You can't. You have to be really a smartass to really get, the big meaning behind it, which is the synthesis between linear thinking, Gemini, and holistic thinking. All this numerology, Kabbalah stuff, and all that. Not the distorted one now in our New Age times, but the original one. Math was invented to have a more or less measurable system to understand the holistic Sagittarius thing. And now we cut off the holistic part. Astrology and astronomy were one. Metaphysics and physics were one. Separation. That's evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look. That's the problem.
No.
Wow.
That keeps you in a state of being not happy.
Yeah.
That makes you codependent.
But where would, you said it's the causative of society with the influence of evil things.
That's my personal opinion.
Because evil things are ignorant.
Yes.
Lack of information. You can't read, you can't be informed. And that's the only people who can read this.
And evil operates to make what is natural, to put the natural or the laws of creation upside down.
So what do you think that, like that?
And the natural law is based on integration, sharing, and giving, and being co-equal and interactive as co-equals. Let's take the car, go to Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles, and observe people. If we find this attitude.
What do you think that seed was planted when men, from what I get from Jeffrey's books, when men started realizing they had...
That's one explanation. It might be right, might be not. But, you know, fuck the reason, look into the reality and make a change. I mean, you know, at the very analysis, keep in mind, what is the source of evil? It's the illusion of a separation from God.
But evil can't create anything.
A little bit, or even to 99%. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Anyway, so what is for these two women in this life, the intention that they meet again? Look how beautiful they met in an astrology class with their children, son. Can you remember yesterday the composite chart we did? Yeah? Can you remember the composite chart? Where it's like, have you been talking about parental issues? Yeah, right in the first night. Huh? Which is not very usual for a romantic kind of, you know. We pick up where we left. What is the intention? Right. Going to the north node, whereas the Pluto polarity point is there too. So what is the intention for them as a couple? With Neptune in the 12th house in Libra, in a balsamic conjunction to Mars, the ruler of the 6th house, where we find Jupiter, the ruler of the 3rd house.
To help each other affect an emotional healing, to help help each other be self-empowered, to like some sort of service, like some sort of
Healing service. It's also coming to the precedent to Aquarius there. They need to objectify to their divine female ability as something that's extraordinary.
Very good, yeah.
How about finding truth in their work?
No, the main resolution is still here. Here. Yeah? This is just relative, additional things. Yeah? And we see this Neptune opposing this Jupiter. But Neptune is the ruler of the 12th house. Ruler of the North Node, 4th house. Did you see how... Well, I explained in a second, but Cheryl was like trapping into the trap, the old trap. Talking about a certain kind of service, working. Yeah? There's a South Node in Virgo. Yeah? There's a Jupiter in the 6th house, opposed by the ruler of the North Node. Is it really about work? What is it?
Mold that feeling through a kind of forgiveness of what is called.
Forgiveness will be one part. Yeah, but how do they do that? You're dealing with a couple that has a South Node in Virgo. They want to know how they do it.
Move away from crisis.
we would need to reconnect with our own inner divinity.
Yes. The female aspect of the divine. And to then progressively heal the emotional body in companionship with the divine. Yeah? To heal from belief patterns that are purely penis belief patterns that have been, humiliating you in the belief I need first to suffer and to work and sell my body and go through crises, pain, violations, humiliation, all this bullshit before I am allowed to embrace a little bit of the divine. Can you see that? Yeah? Can you remember what these two planets are the rulers of in the chakra system? The second chakra, the sacral chakra. Sacral. This is where the reproduction area is, right? No? So that needs to be healed too. In context with the inner female. Not home family. First the inner female. No? In an inner kind of context. How could this context be? It's in Libra in the 12th house. Co-equal. But that takes a while until, a person like Louis or Sharon feel inside a co-equalship to the divine.
Maybe they should make a journey to Mother Mira together.
Okay, that would be an idea. Sure. Maybe a journey together to Mother Mira. Oh. Yeah, with a Jupiter implied. Yeah.
I'm up for that. And we're taking the kids.
Did you hear the old patterns?
Everybody heard us swear.
Rewind that, Uli.
Did you see? And, and Cheryl was talking in we. She did not say I, we. So her energy is like totally in this composited chart. It's this Lori is here, Louis, whatever these names. And the first reaction is relative to the old habit, South Node. Yes, we take the kids. Yeah, but that can only happen via a emotional cleansing, forgiveness, purging, and finding the inner peace. Constantly within her, with a constant relationship to the divine, which makes her then be on this planet. You know what I mean?
He started to say something about comparison contract.
Speak out a little bit. I can't hear anything in the back.
But go ahead, you go with it. You have it.
She started to say something and then she didn't say it loud enough and she didn't finish it. When we were talking about the 6th house, 12th house, comparison contrast, that if she looks at the ideal and the reality, that she needs to discriminate between that and move towards the co-equal rather than the experience.
Yeah, that's true. But see, I get this feeling, maybe because I have this emphasis in Virgo, that all these words are so right. But then a South Node in Virgo, a Sun in Virgo goes like, okay, that sounds nice, but how am I going to do it? How is a typical Virgo question. Yeah, how? How can I really find the comparison, what you just stated, relative to, So how can they?
Well, the Neptune and 12 Libra be open for all the possibilities because 12 house to heal each other or to inspire each other.
Yes. Yes.
With Mars conjuncting the Neptune, she needs to feel it in her body.
Yes. That's very true.
And also, what I'm getting sensing too is to be able to
Both need to feel it in the body. Both need to help each other to feel it in the body. To remind each other, to help, listening to the one word, did you feel it? Not to put, oh my God, she's better than I am, da-da-da-da, all this bullshit, that's the old trap. Yes?
But also too, maybe, as a technique, to breathe, let's say you're offered a solution or whatever, you take a deep breath first and exhale and you sit with it and feel how your body feels about it.
Yeah.
Rather than to, it was so interesting to watch how the mind just grabs onto it.
Mm-hmm.
So used to responding in a certain way.
Yeah.
Maybe to go backwards with the thought and sit with it Let me sit with it. How do I feel?
Yes.
And then start a new way of responding.
Yes. Before, this Virgo kind of pressure of I need to perform / act kicks in, it's helpful to first give oneself, in any situation, first a break. Relax first. Yeah? Dip into the divine first. Get inspired with the relationship to the divine, and then act upon that. Yeah? Instead of acting, hoping that then, I get like a peace of mind. It usually doesn't work.
How about the 0 degrees of the nodal axis? Would that be, especially Pisces, Virgo, would it be helpful? Because it seems like it would be a new way, or maybe a new, instead of the old sadomasochistic relationship with Pisces, Virgo, and with the moon also in the 1st degree of Aries, maybe to make a new definition of this Garden of Eden or whatever.
No, it needs to be felt in the emotional body, in the world of senses.
Would the Uranus square, though, from the 9th house bring a
What?
philosophical?
No. Pisces is the most simple thing that you can just imagine. Simple. With Neptune in the 12th house. Even more simple than simple. No philosophy, no reading books, all this shit is not necessary. The only thing that is required, just wait until she says, the only thing that is required relative to the Mars being in conjunction to this Neptune, Mars being the ruler of the 6th house, that it takes a regular effort, 6th house, to dive into the divine. And step by step, do this effort, to be able to sense it in the emotional, physical body, to sense it. Yeah?
So that means when they are together, relax, feel comfortable, and be open for whatever is happening among them.
Yeah, and even if they are like by themselves. Yeah? Because they're so deeply linked to each other that if one does the work, it already has an effect on the other one. You see that? Mm-hmm. Yeah? So the ruler of Pisces in Libra. Simple. To let go. To always go like into the divine first. And by that, progressively, because we have a cardinal sign here, Libra, progressively, each of them will establish a relationship with the inner lover. Inner lover. By that, progressively, the outer lovers can be seen as their actual reality. Yeah? Poor, angry little boys that are in a little, power trip. Because they have a couple more inches on their body.
At a certain spot.
At a certain spot.
What if they each we all see the moon no matter where we live. And if they thought of each other, at the end of the day when you sit and look at the moon, and would they telepathically think of one another at the same time?
Very beautiful.
And you said Virgo, so it would be daily, and it would connect them to the moon, to the emotions, and to each other.
Yeah. And by that, then they can the next loop into the deeper inner divine. Yeah. To help each other come back to the divine. Yeah? And then go from there. Not thinking first I need to work. Yeah. And then I might.
And you know what's really interesting about if you contrast her and me is I was raised with no religion, and she had 31 years of intense Jehovah, 35 years of intense Jehovah Witness. She, as a little girl, had to go door to door. I mean, we were talking about that in that time. Huh?
She got a master both of them.
Yeah. I was like,
But you know what, Cheryl, is so interesting about that kind of family? It takes just a minute to walk away from that after 30 minutes. You just pivot.
Right.
And that, we're
That's
in a
the...
time where it's That's what it is. We're where we can be. It just takes that.
That's the beauty when Belle does, get into a chart and gives a resolution. It just takes a minute and step away. She's really transmitting, not so mentally, but just, yeah. Right? It's simple. Because we're dealing with Pisces. They have learned that everything needs to be complicated because mankind makes it complicated. Life itself is not. In the inner world, it's very simple. Take one deep breath and you're already there. It's not further away. One breath. Yeah, because that can't be, because I'm not ready yet, No? Just sit, even an image of, image, like a picture, could help. To any kind of divine person that I would recommend is female. Or, like Yogananda. Yogananda was worshipping the Divine Mother. Yeah. So being in contact with him via visualization, imagination, help.
I'm connected with Kuan Yin, really like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But it has to be sweet, loving, caring, graceful. All these Libra archetypes, almost fragile. You know what I mean? That heals the anger.
You also work with Pluto, one in each hand.
Not necessary here. No, not requested here. No hands. There's no hands in there. I would more recommend that she, dives like into her stomach in this area. Yeah? Have focus here, mainly focus here, and just breathe. And just start to sense the divine in every breath, because it's there.
No, I'm not saying. I just wonder.
And now because that's composite, what else could they do together? We're dealing with Libra. Dance? Transcendental dance, yes. What else? Libra? Fashion? Yeah? Huh? Touch. Touch is very... Giving mutual massage, where both, while the massage is happening, are inwardly focused on the divine. Not thinking it, sensing it. Praying for healing. While the one is giving massage, being inwardly focused on Yogananda or, your spiritual guide or Mother Mary, whatever. And then via the touch, you transmit this energy. Just imagine if two women, with this background story, liking each other so much, give each other mutual massage. Yeah? What kind of an effect does that have in return on their lived reality with their husbands? Relative to their touch.
And also in Pisces, they can start with their feet.
They could start with their feet, yeah. 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 Underwater massage. Yeah. Yeah, so here we go. Yeah. Yeah.
Underwater massage. 12 hours natural.
Or taking a water pipe and have a big hootie.
What is the big hootie?
The water joint. But see, actually, that might help one or two times, but it shall be lived or sensed without those things. From time to time. Because otherwise you become dependent on the substance. The substance is the technique to sense it, to then be able to have it there without the substance. By doing that, what we just started to recommend, for them it will be quite easy to let go of their children. Because they start to establish the inner relationship that they're longing for since centuries. Then it's more like, it's fine when the kids are here, but it's also fine when they leave me alone because I have time for myself. That frees the children too. They don't feel guilty, oh my God, I have to call Ma. You know what I mean? Because she needs me.
The reality is they aren't children anymore.
That's the very reality, yes. Both? What? No. Okay, you may be so bold. Belle.
family.
Huh?
You know, earlier when you mentioned travel and Mother Mira,
Uh-huh.
and she said, good, we'll take the kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I couldn't see if you were pointing at the south node and all the Venus, all the areas of it. And I thought that's what you did, but I saw it completely different. And I saw that Uranus in Cancer keeps squaring the ruler of the north node and Jupiter, which says, go ahead and bring the kids. But it also says when you bring the kids, you're gonna come to know that they need independence. That, you know, that Uranus in Cancer in the ninth house, the children do need independence, and that is going to be an integration.
The Cancer is not children.
Cancer is family.
Yeah.
And it's saying not all families have to be like this. You know what I'm saying? So Cancer does have a connection with the, in modern days, the children.
Yeah.
Children are fifth house,
But
it's like, it's okay to have distance. Is what I'm saying within a family. Cancer.
See, I usually just point out, usually when we have those reactions, you always can see them in the first place, in the placement of Pluto and the south node and the ruler of the south node. Always. Because these are instant reactions relative to the old security patterns.
Right.
That's why I pointed out to always restate how fucking important these nodes are.
Right.
Then, of course, David, you see it restated.
Right.
But this is the core theme in a chart. Yeah? You see it restated. And yes, they need to learn to let go, square to rule of the north node to Cancer, to liberate from this bullshit patriarchal definition what a family should be like. By, you know, keeping them imprisoned and the kids imprisoned and the husband, nothing is moving anymore. Yeah?
The children have been, the children really have to be, given the synastry in the closet, are part of the solution too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, the children are part of the solution.
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting for me to see Uranus, which rules airplanes.
Uranus?
In the ninth, Uranus,
No, oh, okay.
which rules airplanes in the ninth house of long distance travel in the sign of Cancer. It's like, this would be good for them to do it as a
Yeah,
group.
absolutely. See, in this...
I see it different. I see that the kids brought them together to heal, and that's it.
For the kids to be liberated too.
For the kids to be liberated
Yeah.
too, but
That they don't feel constantly responsible for the kids in a, you know, overprotective way. Yeah? But, you know,
yeah.
but to be like more like friends. Yeah?
Well, they could travel together if almost in a weird way, it was like two couples. Like the,
Yeah, but see, they need to learn that first. Otherwise, they pretend they would be good couples. You know what I mean? First learn that, you know, and then, you know, that's like, you know, being...
Ministries of learning how to do this spiritual diving into themselves and healing.
Where do you see the new face?
Well, 0 degrees.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So it seems like they need to establish that independent thing.
Yeah, but that can only happen. Think of the both individual charts. Both have Saturn conjuncting Neptune and Libra. Yeah?
Which new phase are you talking about?
Hold on. So it can only happen if they start to establish a very serious relationship to the inner divine, that they can break the patterns of codependency.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Because, you know, the divine is the only lover you can have that never dumps you.
Right. Oh, I see.
That's the beauty about the whole thing. Yeah? And by experiencing that on a daily basis, yeah, you become very independent in terms of your neediness of other people. And by that, you get, via the attraction or via the vibration to divine, exactly what you need. You know what I mean? It's like a little strange paradox. No?
And it seems like to a lot of people when they have these codependent relationships for so long, the tendency is to want to be in a relationship with another person.
Sure.
But it seems like that time alone is so critical that healing happens all the way. Because the mind's so tricky, it feels like, oh, I'm ready now, and then boom, you're in another psycho relationship. So that time alone is so critical, that healing time alone.
Yeah, but see, Libra, archetype of codependency, makes a square to Capricorn and Cancer. As soon as you start to really want to break free from codependent kind of relationships or any kind of codependency in your life, in the same moment you start to be in stress with your conditioning. And relative to that, conditioning, Capricorn, relative to that, in total stress to your emotional security patterns, where you have been conditioned, Capricorn, to find them only outside. You know?
And that includes codependency with the children.
That includes then codependency with the children. Then you're not codependent to your husband anymore. No, instead of that, you're doing it with a son, daughter, whatever. Yeah? And then it becomes painful when the kids at a certain point, want to go in their own life. Yeah? But inwardly feel still like these tentacles. Do you call them tentacles? Yeah? And then tentacle, yeah. Tentacles.
Like an octopus.
Yeah, like an octopusy. Energetically. Yeah? So you need to cut them off. What was that? Oh, octopusy. This is all on camera. Okay.
Can you just explain in German to Jürgen? Just explain in German what he knows.
He got it.
No, he's asking.
Something else.
Oh, about the new phase. I don't know where she got it from. You were talking about a new phase? Where's the new phase? Oh, 0 degree.
Well, that's going retrograde, so that has gone already through the whole time.
I don't see it this way. I see it that this is like, the beginning of the process because of the moon.
Now, the reason why I said we should bring the children is because I thought visiting Mother Mira would be a real answer, like spiritual,
It would be for them to go by themselves and for you and them.
Belle and I, we should have like a counseling office together. Like to play like ping pong. Both sides. Ding, 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 ding. Cheryl, may I expose you again? Not expose, but like... Is it really okay? See, it's so much like me. This Virgo thing. Virgo then starts to rationalize, to just hold on to this fucking old pattern, self-known. Yeah? Got it? That was rationalization you just did. Yeah? They shall go when they have the need to go. Yeah? And in a starting kind of friendship / relationship / love, whatever, they decide to have it done with. Yeah? They should be in charge of deciding when they should go there. Yeah?
We talked about it before she did it.
Okay. They're adult enough, making their own decisions.
Ivory came up to me and said we all need to go together.
Oh, it's Ivory. Well, okay, yeah. That's her part.
Pluto school or Venus school? This is like Venus school around here.
But at the very end, it's the same.
Separation. How does that, there still is an experience.
Hold on. That was good. Where's your Saturn?
Huh?
Where's your Saturn?
Capricorn and 18.
Oh, okay.
I can
Saturn, Capricorn 8. Everything's silent. Me, Saturn in Pisces and 12. I could do like, hello.
I've been organizer for my whole family for separated.
Please. No. I got a Mars in Capricorn, so, Anyway.
I'm family organizer 6 times.
You sit.
I hate it. But I can do it.
In natural law?
In natural law, could you talk just a little bit how that separation would occur, that it would probably be less stressful, but there still would be
What separation?
the separation, the children leaving the parental.
There is no parental in the first place. That's the funny thing. It's tribal. So there's no sense of separation because the underlying belief or perception of life is not based on separation. The tree behind me and me are the same.
But there's still an individuation process.
Sure. Yeah, but not in terms of separation. The other thing is to perceive a baby in natural law / times is a total different motivation than in our times. Oh, we need to have a baby, then our relationship will last forever. Yeah? How often are babies, conceived to fill in the lack between the partners because they're not co-equal but just codependent? How often does that happen? Yeah? Just what we heard about Cheryl. Yeah? Her mother needed a new husband to raise the son. Yeah? That was the story?
Tough one.
This life.
No, that was somebody else. That was Gloria.
Oh, it was Gloria, sorry. So it was Gloria's story, sorry. Yeah? And so they had, like, a nice honeymoon fuck. And she was perceived. And all of a sudden she's carrying all this, relationship. In natural law, if two people decide to have a baby, it's coming from a totally different point of view. First, they establish their co-equal relationship in being a part of the tribe. Yeah? Living really their inner vocation for the time period where they feel that they should be astrologer, visionary, musician, whatever. When they feel the time is over, they just skip it and start with a new profession. Yeah? And then when they sense they want to, give the body as parents to a soul incarnating, that's a different story than having a baby. Did you get it? Yeah? Okay, I'm ready. Yeah? Let's have it. And usually they feel the soul being around long before they do the actual intercourse to create baby. So the idea of separation does not exist because they already know that this is not a belonging, a child, but that they are now being a part of natural law to offer another soul, a body to evolve. There's no ownership issue. Therefore, there's no fear of being separated from something. Belle getting her nicotine eyes. She usually starts with a pen like this. First with these big eyes, then she started with a pen. And yesterday she was sitting with a cigarette already, like with a lighter. Could we please have a smoke break? Oh, it's for my sake. Thank you.
728 years. That's roughly around 2.5 years for transiting one sign. The secondary progressed moon, the secondary progressed moon is very important because it shows in the process of becoming, in the process of emotional becoming mature, the evolution of our self-image from moment to moment. So if you really want to prepare a reading, if you want to prepare or just, have a glimpse into the secondary progress chart where the moon is. You can also have the secondary progress chart printed out as a chart. Interesting then if the ascendant changes or the midheaven changes. Yeah? You can also read the whole chart via aspect from the secondary progress planets to secondary progress planets. Yeah? Like last year, my secondary progress chart, by minutes precise, I had a moon square Mars. Yeah? Secondary progress moon making square to secondary progress Mars. In that year, I was together with someone who had natally a moon square Mars. This relationship was very violent. So it does have, its meaning. I usually don't use it for reading with clients because the reading is like 1.5 hours. But if someone does prediction readings or, evolutionary readings, But in a natal chart, what I usually would do, in green here I have the transits. These are the transits, the major transits. To me, very important is the secondary progressed moon here. Moon. And we can go through the other planets, just very brief.
That'd be pretty dramatic feeling.
Well, yes, but we will see the sun being restated in a technique that I prefer, which is the solar arc. The solar arc, we're going to draw in a second, the solar arc takes the natal planets and moves them. The basis of that is like secondary progression. 1 day after birth equals 1 year. Well, we only want to look onto the movement of the sun since birth relative to 1 day after birth equals 1 year. And with this arc, the sun is moving from. Yeah? And the sun moves each day roughly 1 degree. But if someone is born in the summer, the sun is slower, like 58 minutes a day, than if someone is born in the winter. Then the sun moves like 1 degree till 101 degree. Yeah? If you multiply that by age, let's say 45 years of age, that's 45 days after birth. If you work only with 1 degree equaling 1 year, then you're on the wrong track. Make sense? So solar arc is then that we use only the sun's movement. This is the secondary progressed sun, right? You see that? Secondary progressed sun. It moved from 0 degree Leo to 29 degree Leo. That's 29 degrees.
She's 29 or something.
No, I'm 30, going on 31.
Because she's a Cancer born, or sorry, a Leo born, which is summertime. The sun is slower than 1 degree. So already with 30 years, you see that it shrunk a day / 1 degree. Yeah. So, you know, is that it?
How do you calculate that?
The computer does it.
Oh.
Yeah? What I'm trying to point out is that, when otherwise you just calculate what we just did. The secondary progressed sun, 30 days after her, what was it? 30? 30 days after her birth, sun moved 29 degrees. What we're now going to do is we take every natal planet and move it in natural movement, that means direct, 29 degrees. That's the solar arc. We take all the planets and shift them in the solar arc, sun movement since birth. Got it?
So the sun is the baby.
That is why it's called solar arc. Arc. Yep. The distance that the sun was moving in secondary progression since the natal position of the sun to the secondary progressed position of the sun. Okay? That we can look up in the ephemeris.
Thank you very much.
Got it?
No, I love Noel Tell. I've never been able to get it when he, and thank you.
Is the camera on? Okay. Hold it, we can do a pause.
You're fine.
Very good, Mark.
That's why I said it.
I didn't hear that.
Huh?
I didn't hear that.
So if we do that now, I mean, here her sun is actually 2952 degrees, okay? That's the secondary progressed sun. The secondary progressed sun is also the solar arc sun. Got it? That's the very, you know, got it? Okay? So now we moved every natal planet by 29 degrees and 52 minutes. Got it? We do that with the moon. And here we have the printout. So the solar arc moon lands on on 1 degree. Hold on. Let me just... May I delete the secondary progressed planets that are not important right now? See, the Mars here is on 11 degrees Leo. That's 2 degrees away or separating from Venus. In solar arc, because the movement of the planet is roughly about 1 degree for 1 year, we could say 2 years ago something happened. But in secondary progressed charts, it's the natural slowed down movement of the planet. So Mars, to move 2 degrees, takes much longer than the moon to move 2 degrees. So you really have to be, you know, bright. I'm not. Since we're not, and I'm not, I just get rid of them. I just check if they're like very important things right now. See Mercury here in Virgo making precise sextile to Mercury. That could be important, but it's a sextile. So
So erase that.
I erase that.
Oh, good.
We are
Down to nothing for you.
We see the Venus in 17 degrees Virgo. There's nothing happening here.
Erase that.
Yeah, it's not important.
You only want the shit.
We want to see, you know, that's what you have to do when you prepare a reading. What is important, what is not important. You know? To discriminate, to have priorities. What is important is, if you look into her natal chart, she has a Saturn, which is direct. Her solar arc, her secondary progressed Saturn is now retrograde. Did you get that? So after her birth, the Saturn became retrograde. So even though she has natally a direct moving Saturn, now she is in a state of repeating past life dynamics or parental dynamics in order via the repetition to rebel against Saturnian dynamics in order to rebel against any outer authority, Saturn, in order to embrace, as older she gets, Saturn, her own individual authority from within. That's what we know about retrograde planets. Does that make sense? For instance, when I started like to become a professional astrologer, without me knowing, of course, because I never looked it up, Venus, rule of my 7th house, became retrograde. So everyone I meet, rule of the 7th house, I know from previous lives in order to repeat certain dynamics in order to culminate. Make sense? I do have a direct Venus, but in secondary progress, it becomes retrograde. So what I shared with you yesterday, I have a retrograde Jupiter. By secondary progress, calculating, when I'm 54, my Jupiter will start to become direct. 54 days after birth, Jupiter became direct. That equals 54 years after, or 54 years of age. Listen? So look into the retrograde. If a planet becomes direct, which is natally retrograde or vice versa, that could have some interesting things.
Yeah, because my Neptune is just turned direct too.
She was 15 when that Saturn went retro.
Okay. So now we could ask the client, to do some research, which is good to do with friends. What happened when you were 15? And they talk about da-da-da-da-da, but you look onto the Saturn is in Aries in the 8th house and being the ruler of her 6th house. Has there been a major change in her life reality relative to work, society? Something like that with 15.
She gonna tell us.
16? Actually, a little bit before that. I came to America when I was 12, so I had a hard time learning English. Because I was told that because I was so good in math and science, English is not, I couldn't possibly do that. And I was really
That's when Neptune went direct.
Oh, that's when Neptune went direct.
U.S.
And I just wanted to say, this is not what the Saturn meant. You see, Saturn here has nothing to do with 9th house, has nothing to do with talking, with language. Yeah? So now we can say, no, this is not what we're looking for. Yeah? But they've just said Neptune became direct. So?
And I had a hard time at school, and finally I realized everything's about attitude. All I had to do is take step by step. Today I learned one more word than previously, and slowly. That's how I learned over time. Yeah.
What I would recommend is probably that when you're 15, that you might have gone through some troubles on the hormonic level or emotional level relative to your gender. That it was a hard time, 15, because Saturn is in the sexual house, in Aries, physical body, ruler of the 6th house, health, or emotional/physical problems, crises.
A lot of crises on that.
In that age. Okay. Well, but Saturn in transit was opposing her Saturn, so probably, it's a part of the whole thing.
Oh yeah, I look like a boy and...
Now we're getting close.
Hello.
Did you see how you react?
We didn't have money.
Now we didn't have money. Yeah. Now you got it.
And then,
Listen to the client while you know what you want to hear.
it's hard. People make fun of me.
Humiliation, social humiliation.
Yeah, I don't want to be looking like them, but I have no choice. I have no money.
I have no choice. 8th house. I have no money. It's the Saturn in transit opposing that. That's for 15. But she made a decision. I am who I am in that time.
And I work
Would that be the Aries with the Saturn?
And she worked really hard to get out of there. Did you hear that? Working hard. Capricorn, the 6th house cusp.
Right.
Yeah? Yeah, got it? Something changed. Okay.
So just to refresh on the retrograde Saturn, that is archetyped as, because Saturn normally is compressing or...
Structure.
It's going the opposite way, though, wouldn't it be?
It's liberation from all unnecessary limitations/outer authorities in order to establish an inner authority that gives you an inner feeling of security. Every retrograde planet is rebelling against the planetary energy itself, how it lives.
Right. I got it.
Yeah. So this one seems to be quite important, but it doesn't make any important. Well, it makes 25 degrees Saturn. So it's on its way to make trine to the ascendant. Can you see? It's 2 degrees away. But we're dealing with a secondary progressed planet. 2 degrees
movement of Saturn, how many days does that take?
And it's a retrograde.
And it's retrograde, forget it. So it's probably in 40 years.